Hi everyone. Milo and Gavin McInnes recently dropped leaked audio of white nationalist leader Richard Spencer finally revealing his true form. This is right after a left-wing demonstrator was killed at Charlottesville, at which point Richard Spencer summoned his followers in an emergency meeting where he had this to say to his followers.
I am so fucking mad at these people. They don't do this to fucking me. We're gonna fucking ritualistically humiliate them. I am coming back here every fucking weekend if I have to. I win, they fucking lose. That's how the world fucking works. Little fucking kikes. They get ruled by people like me. Little fucking octoroons. My ancestors fucking enslaved those pieces of fucking shit. I rule the fucking world. Those pieces of shit get ruled by people like me. They look up and see a face like mine looking down at them. That's how the fucking world works. We are gonna destroy this fucking town!
I think I counted 3 voice cracks there.
Fucking me! Fucking enslave those pieces of fucking shit! Humiliate them!
3. You know, I really hate to validate the term white privilege, but...
My ancestors fucking enslaved those pieces of fucking shit! Get ruled by people like me! They look up! They look up and see a face like mine looking down at them!
In this complete and utter Cartman moment, we have been exposed to this man's very soul, and what appears to be the foundation is an immensely shriveled up short dick tyrant.
Teeny weeny, shriveled little short dick man. Don't want. You need some fucking tweezers to put that little thing away. Need some fucking tweezers to put that little thing away.
This definitely calls for the invention of a new term. Let's call this the mantra.
That has got to be the smallest dick I have ever seen in my whole life.
It's also worth mentioning that Richard Spencer is one of the more progressive voices of the alt-right. This is why portions of the alt-right don't like him, because he doesn't dislike women and homosexuals enough. So, if this is what the alt-right's most progressive candidate sounds like behind closed doors, I don't even want... I'm just gonna have to call David Duke and ask to borrow a piece of his imagination, because this harmless foreigner, is at a loss for words. So I'm just gonna have to quote a very good point instead, from Jewish magazine Haaretz. After Richard Spencer's anti-Semitic tirade, will the US media finally stop glamorizing well-dressed white nationalists? Aside from CNN hosting Richard Spencer months before this leaked audio, a clip Spencer himself proudly shared on Twitter, photos can be found of Spencer drinking at a bar with a well-known reporter and multiple mainstream headlines gratuitously praising his appearance and demeanor. The media's first for platforming him is made even more inexplicable in view of Spencer's recent divorce filings, revealing allegations of brutal domestic violence. But that didn't stop him from getting gigs on CNN. Yeah, the mainstream media really made this guy famous, because he's not shit on the internet. His YouTube channel barely has any subs, and the general public isn't interested in alt-right views. It doesn't drag that much attention organically. But then a boogeyman comes along, enforcing the left's narrative of white privilege and right-wing monsters, at which point, I suppose morals just aren't as interesting, huh? If you can somehow smear the President Donald Trump by having a short dick retard praise him, what's one more happy Nazi in the world? I'm just saying, it's kinda weird that Milo gets kicked off Twitter and Spencer has Twitter. If this is the nicest, most well-spoken person that your movement could put forward, then I don't really want to know what the rest of your greater movement looks like. Except I already do, and that's why I'm so upset with your cultural appropriation of trolling. A general rule of thumb with trolling is, if you actually believe what you're saying, then it's not trolling. Now, the alt-right wants to make people believe that they're a harmless movement, a religion of peace, and that any signs of overt anti-Semitism and racism is just them trolling. It's just you being oversensitive. Right?
Wrong.
Well, as a veteran troll and internet user, I'm pretty offended by all the people violently defecating on that term, ultimately harming its original meaning. The mainstream in Sweden has come to define trolling as anyone expressing opinions I don't like, whereas the alt-right has come to define trolling as opinions I'm too scared to stand by in real life. And you'll notice this when you talk to them, you know, on some level they're aware of how despicable, amoral, and incoherent their values are. So that's why their best bet at recruiting people is pretending that they don't actually mean what they say. So they don't want the so-called unindoctrinated to tell whether or not they're joking. Because they use trolling as specifically a political tactic, there's little difference between their supposed satire and the actual beliefs. I guess at some point they just discovered that this is the best chance they got of converting regular, random, feminism-allergic internet users into buying their political point. When all it really does is just stigmatize casual internet assholes, because now anyone with a messed up sense of humor comes off as a Nazi. As patrons of the Dark Laughs, we're already being smeared as serial killers and necrophiliacs and other impolite heathens, but now us regular edgelords find ourselves having to be associated to Nazis as well. You're ruining dark comedy for all of us by being a bunch of manginas. There's no difference between right-wing SJWs and left-wing SJWs, because all of them just want to steal my fun, my freedom, and my culture. All of you care more about politics than any of those things.
Get ruled by people like me. They look up, they look up and see a face like mine.
Now I know this is exceptionally cringy behavior we're witnessing here, but there's no way in hell that Spencer is the only political figure pulling this shit.
Och det spelar ingen roll om man står till vänster eller höger. Alltså det vill jag verkligen säga. Vad man säger är en sak, vad man gör är en annan sak. Jag mötte till exempel en socialdemokratisk kommunalråd häromdagen som sa till mig så här att jag har sett många gånger mina socialdemokratiska partikamrater har stått i tv och tidningar och sagt vad bra med integration och vad bra med mångkulturellt samhälle. Dagen efter kan samma person ringa upp till honom som då var vd för ett stort allmännyttigt bostadsbolag och säga att min son behöver en lägenhet. Och för fan inte i de här jävla negerområdena där ni framförallt har bostäder. Alltså sånt hyckleri finns, va?
I will bet my left nut that Hillary Clinton has done some shit like this as well. He just never leaked out on tape. And Donald Trump is pretty obvious. It's just this idea of dinner conversation. Now, before we wrapped up this video, I would just like to point out that the only person during this entire time denying that this is the real Richard Spencer has been Richard Spencer. Meanwhile, a good portion of the alt-right doesn't even like Richard Spencer because he's too soft, as we could hear on the tape.
Fucking me!
So just imagine what this greater religion of peace must really look like behind closed doors. That's all I'm asking you to do as usual. Clearly you can't just look at what people say, you have to look at what they do. And if that's true for the left, then it has to be true for the right. I'm your friendly neighborhood foreigner. Don't forget to meditate and always choose liberty over authority. Namaste!